Good morning, everyone. My name is Neekaneewak, and I'm from the Muscophean First Nation, Treaty 4 territory, and I'd like to welcome you here today for this fabulous this workshop on leadership and where Aboriginal youth explore different attributes in the areas of education, governance, health, activism, self-identity. We're hoping to inspire you today. It kicks off Neekaneewak. We are leading, which is an Aboriginal Youth Leadership Forum. Couple housekeeping items. For those of you that don't know, the washrooms are up on the main floor, just around the corner to the right. If you hit Tim Hortons, you've already gone too far. There's a hallway there just to the side of the elevators. Each of you will have been given a program detailing the events of today, Exhibit A. It gives you a little overview and some bios of our speakers, the agenda, and a little introduction, so it's all good. With that, we ask you as well to turn your cells off, please. The event today is going to be live streamed, and so it's we're excited for that. So it's not just going to be you. The speakers will be reaching audiences from far and wide on the web. Yay! But following in our traditions and our culture, we would like to begin today in a good way. And I'd like to ask our traditional practitioner or elder, Roy Bison, to step forward. He is going to begin the day with an opening prayer and a song. And for those of you that don't know Roy, he resides in Ocean Man. He's been in Canada for a number of years, and he is well known on the Powwow Trail and in sharing the traditional cultural way. He is originally from Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and he's half Lakota and half Cheyenne. I'd like to welcome Roy.
Tanse hiwa, or tanse bojo, no it ni how, and how kula. Umba washte, and piva wuna. Na misa Oglala Lakota. Tuksha he mi e duha wachik telo shungaliska ta pajutu wakan. Ne hos ne itsewa. What I said is mista tatunka tashunkuatko. Is from our great crazy horse. I carry that name. I'm the 7th one. My son will be the 8th. And that is a great name to carry. But I also said in many different languages, good morning. And this is a great day to start something such as what's going on today. A lot of us talk about, because I grew up in Oklahoma, you know, I can say, na eho is in Cheyenne, eho is mo nisto neveste na wai, na hato na gawahta, siwayin. Whether language you speak, Cheyenne, Sioux, Michif, Cree, Nehiyo, we want to be called the people. We want to be called Tatista, Cheyenne, not Cheyenne, or the Oglala Lakota instead of Sioux. The Cree, we say Nehiyo, or the Dene, or the Navajo. And there are many tribes, but we tend to, when I first come here, I heard A from my own wife or children, A. So I said, how do you spell Canada? C-A-N-A-D-A, A. But where I come from, you know, if I really came up here and introduced myself again, I would just come in where we grew up and say, hello, my name's Roy Bison from down Sayre, Oklahoma. you know, it's the way you, when you grow up and to learn the English language. This language has a lot and it goes a long way. But I tell you the secret that we even go another 100% in our own language to get that thing we call say something. And that word's been around for many years, and it goes into everything, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritually. The other one is ta-tawâw. All it's saying is, this too shall pass. And the thought of those words that's been used through lodges and the many generations, that's been helping myself as a youth also, is that one day I wanted, when I was young, to be the world's fancy dance champion. And I worked at it. In 1995, it became the world's champion, not knowing that I'm going to eventually get into the golden age category. But before I go on, I want to say to each one of you that come here, your campfires, your homes, your reservations, your reserves, your family, your oyate, those lodges, those drums, those gourds, rattles, and those prayers. We always, for some reason, look up in the sky, and we always say, Kehu, or Wambali, or Kakayak, the eagle. That's his home in the sky. And I'm going to sing about a feather that you guys will have in your mind. Wherever you go, you're going to meet a feather. There's a lot of people who always say, before you come in here, wear a skirt. Or if you're going to wear a hat, put a feather on it. And you can wear that. But there's so many different changes in our culture that today is going to be explained through our speakers. Today, I just wanted to start out that song from the eagle, the Wambali Wiyaka. And it's a prayer song. Oh, mahio, na behome na gashkunese. Na behome na ishi wataman. Nibi is the no way. Na behome na tatista sitel ho homo. Nehiyo dene kawa is the near. Na behome na beho, meshe the beho, madana beho, bapana beho, ke o the nawai. Na behome noko, ama still neho e. I yoke hip bush, hip botto, to tistaki is the nawai. Na mahio, na ishi wataman. Na hato, na moke, na dakamio, or sea, work seha. Na mahio ishi watamania, go was in. na e huo e na hane. Na wa e tenia. Say something. Ne me e tawa he. Na wa e huo na e na hane. E na hane. Ha ho, me tako atu.
Thank you, Elder Roy. Wow, wasn't that a beautiful song? What a great way to start the day. Hearing the song, for me personally, hearing the song and the prayer, you know, it gives me a good feeling. When you hear the song, it just lifts your spirit sometimes. And I don't know how many of you youth feel that when you hear the drum in the song. So it really is a good way to start today, is to start that lifting of the spirit. And I know all the speakers today will definitely add to the song and the prayer this morning. And the words that they'll speak today will definitely lift your spirits and hopefully inspire you to pursue your own path of leadership. I'm going to apologize right now, just to let you know, I am my dad's daughter, and my dad spoke a lot with his hand, so I might swing my hand and accidentally hit this and make some noise, so I apologize in advance. Those that knew my dad would know very much how much he spoke with his hands, hey? So I will apologize. I tapped it once and caught myself, and then, you know, that it just happens. Next on the agenda, on behalf of the Aboriginal Student Centre, Neekaneewak, we are leading this Aboriginal Youth Leadership Forum. On behalf of the Aboriginal Student Centre and the University of Regina, we'd like to welcome you to this forum, 2014 forum, with the help and contribution from the Toronto-Dominion Bank. We've been given this initiative and this opportunity to have this, to offer this to the youth and to all those that want to participate and be a part of. So we'd like to thank the Toronto-Dominion Bank for making this possible. In Michif, Neekaneewak means they are leading. And in this initiative is an elder-based mentorship program that enhances cultural awareness and seeks to develop leadership skills in students that are participants through traditional and contemporary ways of knowing. We'd like to kick this initiative through this forum, kick it off, as a way to help celebrate the local youth leaders that will be speaking today and offering them ways to share their ways of knowing, their personal leadership. On behalf of the university, I'd like to welcome now Dr. Shawneen Pete, who is the Indigenous Lead and Associate Professor in the Faculty of Education, to provide a welcome on behalf of the University of Regina and the Aboriginal Student Centre. Dr. Shawneen Pete.
Good morning. It's so good to see you. I wish the lights were up so I could see your faces. All I can see is like little shapes in the stands out there. Don't make faces. Welcome to the University of Regina. The University of Regina is a really uniquely situated university here in Saskatchewan in that it's had long-standing relationships with First Nations and Métis peoples and organizations for a very, very long time. We had in partnership with First Nations University of Canada as well as Gabriel Dumont Institute through their SUNTEP programs offer a wide range of programs here to better serve First Nations and Métis peoples in our communities. The work here is done in a collaborative way with our partners, with First Nations University and with SUNTEP. We work together to provide leadership to help change the university to better serve all of us and our communities. We have an Aboriginal Advisory Circle with a strategic plan, and that Aboriginal Advisory Circle is volunteers. We are staff and faculty and some students who imagine a better place. And we put that vision for change, of changing the university, to an effect through all of our actions. and we wanted to increase the frequency and visibility of First Nations and Métis events and activities here on the campus, as well as engage a community engagement process to better find out how to reach the needs of all of the people in this province, and to make sure that our university campuses and our programs and our classrooms reflect our histories and our aspirations. We're also working together on engaging in a communication strategy. We'd like to be able to have a shared understanding of what indigenizing the university is and what it means. And we'd like to have a shared responsibility in all of the units, whether it's management, academics, or hiring, or in all of the courses that we're offering here. These are the ways in which we're changing the university. And we're doing so because when we ask our learners who are here, why did you come to university? They almost always tell us they want to give their children a better life. And then the second answer that they give us is that they want to transform our communities. They want to transform our communities for the better. And that requires real leadership from young people and from old people together. And this can become a place where we can work towards our liberation with one another. So the university can be a site of change. We're really thankful that you're here today. I was telling my students in the Faculty of Education that we were coming together for this discussion and this time together. And they were kind of like, can we come? Because they have so much that they want to learn from you as well. And I said, no, but you can be good hosts. So if you see our guests in the hallways today, please welcome them to the U of R. Please welcome them to this campus location and remind them that we are working together for change. Thank you so much for being here today, and we look forward to interacting with you for the remainder of the day. Have a good one.
Thank you, Shawneen. Wasn't that a great introduction to the changes that are happening at the University of Regina? I know a lot has changed in about 20-some years since I started university. I was walking with my niece coming, and I was telling her that for those of you that don't know, the old bookstore used to be where College West cafeteria used to be. That used to be the lunch place for all of us, hey, when we'd show up. And that the actual doors coming into the Riddell Center, those were doors leading outside, and we had to bundle up and run in the winter to the education building. So a little bit of changes, you know, all good. And so in 20 years, who knows what you guys each will bring to not only the university, but into your own personal lives and also to the places that you're going to work in, hey? Individual leadership, as Shawneen mentioned, begins with each of you and your inspiration and the drive that you have in the area that you want to go. Certainly, there are a lot of young people that are here that are growing into leadership positions, and just in your own way, hey? Leadership is not about being one figure that's a CEO or a president or anything like that. It's about each doing in your own way and in your own way feeling that total success with it, be it family, be it volunteer, be it just day-to-day living, you know. There are many leaders on many fronts, certainly, that can inspire you. And I, for one, know that this young man that's coming up inspires me, because you're never too old to be inspired. You're never too old to move forward, to say, you know what, that person has some individual, you know, like some gusto, some courage, and I really admire courage, hey? And so this young man is a 31-year-old Cree and Saulteaux person from the Cowes First Nation. His name is Cadmus Delorme. Many of you may know him. He is the ambassador, student recruiter for First Nations University of Canada. Cadmus enjoys a substance-free life, and he thrives on challenges. Whether on the golf course or in kettlebell weight training classes, he recruits for the university, or as a recruiter for the university, or even calling bingo on the reserve. You will see his smile, and definitely you will hear his laughter throughout. Cadmus recently graduated with a Bachelor of Administration from First Nations University of Canada, the second generation in his family to do so. He's very proud of that, following his mother, Charlotte Bear. Cadmus's drive in life is to support the freedom of others, especially First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. His passion to learn the knowledge, stay open-minded, and push status quo on current challenges and opportunity has him seeking his next step, which is a master's degree in Indigenous governance at the University of Victoria. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Let's welcome Mr. Cadmus Delorme.
Okay. Check. Oh, good morning. I'd like to start off by thanking Mr. Bison for starting us off in a good way. I want to apologize that I am going to speak about leadership and governance, and I know there's a lot of people in here that have a lot more experience than I do at life to this point, as well as more education. So it's an honor to be presenting to you here this morning. I also like to thank the Aboriginal Student Centre, along with the University of Regina, for giving me this opportunity. In the opening, in the pamphlet there, it says Cadmus Delorme, and it says Indian Act Indian. And I wanted to talk about that. It's kind of a story. I'm a storyteller at times. I apologize, my stories do kind of get long, and after 5 minutes, my nose might start growing. So I'll try not to get to that point. So I spoke here in May at the University of Regina for an event, and there was an elite people here, presidents, board of governors, very, very high educated people and experienced, here to help. And there was me, Cadmus Delorme. I was a presenter, and I don't have a title. Like, I'm just a undergraduate degree. I'm a recruitment officer. And so they put Indian Act Indian, and I just thought that was the coolest name. I was so proud of it. I was showing everybody there. I was showing presidents of university. Yeah, I'm an Indian Act Indian. So I wanted to start off with that. In governance, everything has a connection in governance. And I'm going to speak on behalf of, not on behalf, but I'm going to speak towards First Nations people for a minute here. The first peoples here of Turtles Island, where we stand and sit right now, we were the first peoples. And when the British North American Act came into in the 1867 to 1869, the First Nations people were looked at as nation to nation. That's what we were. We were nation to nation. It was the Crown, and then Canada came in, and then the First Nations. And then fast forward a couple of years to 1876, we became wards of the state. That's what Canada defined First Nation. We ended the nation to nation from their mindset. And then we became wards of the state. So that means they took it on their responsibility to look after and to help the First Nations people through their eyes. And fast forward now to 2014, we are now the Indian problem. That's what the definition is. And so I'm Indian problem 36103555501. That's my status number. So when I go to Creeland, that's the number I show them to. So I grew up on the Cowes First Nation. It's about an hour and 20 minutes east of Regina. I'd point with my lips, but I might hit Winnipeg. Now, I do not let one government tell me that I am from just one nation, because my father's from Cowes First Nation. He's a member. My mother's from Ochapowa's First Nation. I grew up in both. My grandmother, she was a Lewisan. She's from ta-tawâw. I apologize for the ones who don't know. These are reserves that are connected where I grew up. So my mother's from Ochapowa's. My grandmother's from ta-tawâw. My father's from Cowes, and I snagged in Sakame before. So I got connection to all 4 reserves down where I grew up. So I'm here to talk to you about leadership and governance. And it's such an honor to be standing here today because when I was like 21 years old, my mom and dad forced me out of the house. Get out of here, they told me. Now it's time to grow up. I didn't want to leave. I was a reserve guy. I didn't want to leave. And my mom and dad forced me to go to a college called Lethbridge Community College when I was 21 years old. It was professional golf management. That was the program. I'm a golfer. I've always been a golfer. I love golf. But I didn't want to go. Too far for me, and I just love Treaty 4 territory. But I went because they made me go. They didn't really give me an option, and to this day I thank them for doing this. So I get to Lethbridge Community College. I walk into my first class. I was one of 140 students in this first year class. It's professional golf management. I was the only First Nation person in this class. And that was the first time I ever in my life, my heart felt scared because I looked around and I didn't see one Indian. It's the first time in my life I looked around and I never seen one person that, who I could relate myself to. And where I'm going with this story is, I'll tell you at the end, but I lasted 7 months there, and I couldn't handle it anymore. I had to come back home. I was telling my mom and dad, I have no friends here. I had people who were trying to be my friend, but it's just like I was blocking them out because you don't realize growing up where you're growing up now, the friends that you have, the family that you have, if you are First Nations, the First Nations that are around you, there's some things that we'll just laugh at that some people don't get. There's things that where we tell jokes, we tease one another. But when I was there, I was taken out of this bubble and put into a whole new one. But I learned leadership when I was there. I lasted 7 months, and I moved back home, and it's like I went out of my comfort zone, and I came back, and it's like I came back to my nation, and I seen my youth, my friends, the ones I grew up with, the ones I used to sit beside at conferences like this in high school, and I seen it from a different perspective. I looked at them, and I'm like, wow, I just feel like I'm different. But you know what I did? I grew up. My mom and dad challenged me to move out of my comfort zone into something new. And that's what leadership is. Every day. And you know what? When I learned that, when I came back home, I was like, oh, it's kind of a rush, So I continued it. So, and then I moved on. I eventually made it to university. And when I got to university, I didn't know what I wanted to get into, but I really liked leadership for some reason. I studied my chief and council on my reserve. I watched these elections. I didn't know who to vote for, but I knew there was a vote coming up, and I had to vote for somebody. It really intrigued me because, it really does make a difference in what you do. In high school, I was the SRC president in grade 12, and the reason I wanted to become president is I wanted to make sure all my friends around me had fun in high school. And I won. The reason I won is I used humor. I went up against a really important student in high school. His name was Brandon. I called him Groovy. But I wrote my speech, and I said, I'm only going to take a couple minutes, I told the high school, and I dropped it. My mom and I taped 7 pages together. So I'm standing here, and everybody started laughing. And I was nervous. The paper was shaking. My knees were shaking. But I beat Groovy by 7 votes. And the first thing we did is we did a fundraiser. We taped our principal. I don't want to give you ideas. We taped our principal with duct tape to the wall. It was a fundraiser. We had to fundraise $250, and he would do it. But what he didn't know is that the night before, we showed up and filled up 250 balloons with water, and we stashed them in the bathroom. So as soon as they removed the chair, he thought it was done, and he started laughing, and we pulled out these 3 big boxes, and from a distance, we were all throwing them at him, and he was trying his hardest to rip himself off the wall, and the students, though, had so much fun. He had fun. Nobody got hurt. Good thing. I didn't tell him to wear a can or a helmet. I forgot to mention that. But that's the kind of things that I was learning. I wanted to show you a couple slides here. So there's Indian Act Indian. I always like that now here when I come and speak at the U of R. I want to talk to you about connection. Governance has a connection. Everything we do in life has a connection, and that's what governance is. You know, you think of government. Government is just a little wee piece of governance. I'm here to talk to you about governance. So I want to talk to you from a couple different perspectives. The first one is the connection of governance to earth. You know, you hear right now, idle no more. You hear standing up for the water, standing up for the land, Mother Earth. Well, this is the governance connection to that. On the top left, it starts, water is Earth's blood. Water is everything, and this is how water is everything. Water from Mother Earth allows trees and plants to grow. And you move on. Trees and plants are connected to Mother Earth through their roots. The roots, you talk about roots. Next one, animals drink water and eat plants. And finally, humans rely on water, plants, and animals for survival. And our waters today, in the Treaty 4 territory, the Treaty 6 territory, other places up in the north, to the east, to the west, water is one of the biggest things right now for resource extraction, for building. Water is really diminishing right now. And if we don't start standing up to protect it, then things like this governance is going to start going down. I'm not here to talk about strictly stuff like that. I'm just trying to show you some of the things that we have to start standing up for, because we're the next generation. We're the next leaders. If you want to be or not, we are the next generation of leaders. And our generation is different than the past generation. They're different than their past generation. We're constantly evolving. We've been evolving for hundreds to thousands of years, but we have to be prepared. You got to step into something, and you have to try and really figure it out and how to measure it, how to make a decision. And this is just one of the ones that I really enjoyed, because governance is something I'm still figuring out. I love governance. In the opening statement of myself, I am going to go get my master's in Indigenous governance. And I love Indigenous governance because think of it like this. 150 years ago, I'm just going to say 150 years ago to give you a mindset, when the tribal system was intact, all the families would have teepees within the tribe. Everyone would have a teepee. You'd have a teepee. You'd be living in there with your mom and your dad, your aunties and uncles, your kokums and mushums. And it was like invisible walls in there. You know how today you have a house, you have your bedrooms, your kitchen, your living room? Well, your teepee was your house. And so that's where you had your corner. And now in the middle of the tribe was societies. You had your warrior society. You had your hunting society. You had your university, which was your elder society. They played many roles. And everyone from the families sat on those societies. They picked somebody. And this is how some of them would choose them. If we were all children walking around and I had a stick in my hand and I was swatting at the flies and chasing the gophers, the elders would see that. And they would take me and they would put me in the hunting society as a child. And the hunting society would raise me up to be an elite hunter so I can provide for my people. Not just my mom and dad, but for my people. That's traditional governance right there. Today, if you were to compare me and as an elite hunter, as how the warrior society would raise me, I'd be a doctorate today. I'd have my master's degree in education. That's the comparison. So now, today, I do my hunting down the deli aisle at Safeway. But now my society is different. My society is education. One of the greatest weapons that a warrior can have today is writing skills. The greatest weapons is writing skills. So when you're sitting in English A30, B30, it could get boring at times. You might not get interested in what's going on. But I tell you, those tools that they're teaching you means everything. Think about it. The very basic writing skills, every one of us have done it at one time, updated a Facebook status. Don't you think the cooler update statuses are the ones with the more unique writing skills. You know, that's just one comparison. Another thing, I don't know if you still do it today, but when I was in high school, I used to ask out my potential girlfriends, will you go out with me? Yes, no, maybe. For some reason, I always used to get circled maybe. I don't know why. I fell in that friend zone and couldn't get out. But imagine this. If I could put myself back in those shoes and I was to rewrite that letter, because I took English classes in university and I finally found a comparison to what it was, this is how I would have wrote it. You know what? You have righteousness in your heart, which brings beauty in your character. Of course you would have said yes right away. That's how you could use writing skills. Now when you grow up, when you get more experience in life, your writing skills are going to become more important because you're going to sit on committees, you're going to volunteer, you're going to have to write letters, you're going to have to write a resume. All these involve writing skills. I'm kind of drifting off here, but I'm just trying to get you, that's traditional governance in a contemporary time. You know, as people, we have similar challenges and opportunities as past generations. It's just that we learn to survive in different ways. You know, we bend and sway without breaking. That's survival in today's life. We bend and sway without breaking. So that's one example of governance. I'm trying to really show you that governance, there's not just one governance. Connection is governance. Like if we started in a line here and I whispered something in that gentleman's ear over there, and we went all the way across to the other end, do you think that story would be the same by the time we got to the other end? That's how rumors are started. You know what I heard? My cousin's uncle's bingo partner's brother, you know what he told me? But that is connection. That is connection. You have to get to the root. You have to get to the root of what you're looking at and go back to the first person instead of looking kind of down the line. My second one is personal governance. Every one of us has this. I love this quote. I read it in a book called The Law of the Garbage Truck. And that's another story. Do you understand the first two lines? When I was going to ask out that girl in high school, this is where I got it from. When there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. When there is beauty in the character, there is harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there is order in the nation. And when there's order in the nation, there's peace in the world. That's another level of governance. That's personal governance. Righteousness in your heart, that's your laws and your ethics. Did you know by the time you're 15 in 2014, in today's day, through video games, movies, YouTube, you have watched 13,000 deaths by now? How do you think that affects your ethics and morals? You watch it on movies, you play video games. That really does have an impact in the way you're going to make decisions. That's where righteousness in your heart, trying to act like my heart's on this side. It's on this side. That's righteousness in your heart. You got to have righteousness in your heart in order to get all the way down to order in the nation or peace in the world. If you're missing a step, it's really hard to get to that bottom line. You know, every one of us in this room, regardless of your background, how you grew up, who you are, where you live, we all want one thing, and that's freedom. Every one of us want freedom. And how do you achieve freedom? You're going to go through a whole life of challenges and opportunities achieving that. Think of it right now. What is something that you want in life? Something that where you want to be, what you want to do. It all involves freedom to make your own choice and how to get there. But if you don't have righteousness in your heart, it's really hard to get to the next level. I'm not perfect in no way, but I really study that first line there now today. I go to ceremonies. I never really attended ceremonies growing up. My mom and dad, I grew up in a United church on the Kakawishtahow First Nation. When I started going to First Nations University, and this is not a lie, my first semester I walked by the ceremonial teepee and I could smell the sweetgrass, and I just kept on walking. I'm like, oh, that smells different. I didn't really know what was going on. By the second semester, I was starting to get nosy. I'd walk slower and I'd kind of peek, give that kind of look. And by the third semester, I actually walked into the ceremonial teepee and I sat down just in the back as just someone to watch. I observed the pipe ceremony. And by the fourth semester, I started going to feasts. And I noticed these guys would serve the people. I'm like, I want to serve the people. I want to help in some way. And so by my fourth semester, I was attending pipe ceremonies. I was smudging at home. I was smudging at school. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was smudging. I was like, okay, what's, yeah. And then I'd follow it up with some cologne, trying to still act cool. Till now, that is my cologne, is that smell today. But that's where I started. And I tell you that righteousness in my heart, I learned something in ceremonies. I attend every ceremony I can. When I'm at feasts, I want to serve. I love serving. I love seeing people laugh. I like feeding them. But this is what I learned. As a male, I'm a Neekaneewak. People growing up called me Indian, First Nation, Indigenous, Aboriginal, Native. There's too much names for us today. I don't even know which one to call myself sometimes. Until I started going to ceremonies, I'm a Neekaneewak. I'm a Cree. I'm a Anishinaabe. My kokum, she was Soto. That's who I am. You can call me whatever you want. Just don't get worse. I'll call my cousins. But I don't take the weight of those words anymore, because I know who I am right here. I have a role in life. I'm here to protect the women and the children. That's my role. I learned that in ceremony. Every morning when I wake up, sure, I have things that I have to do on a daily basis, but in the back, my path is to protect the women and the children. That's my path. And I love it. I wake up every morning. How can I protect today? If I see something on the news, I'm going to put it on my Facebook status. I'm going to go talk to those people. I want to make sure the right words are being said about things. I don't like how you can take one story and turn it into another. I know there's Creason and I'm here. I don't want to down talk media, but media are a really big tool in the truth from fictional when it comes to a lot of issues. And I really like to correct that, because once that truth is spoken, we can move forward at a faster pace. So I don't want to venture off too far, but I really like this. The Law of the Garbage Truck is a great book. I'm not here to promote it, but this is what the Law of the Garbage Truck is. Every one of us here, no matter your age, your gender, your background, we have garbage within us. And we're gonna put it on our friends. We're gonna put it on our family. Those are complaints. Those are issues that you have. And every one of our friends and family have garbage that they're gonna put on us. It's just human nature. But what this book taught me is how I can manage your garbage and teach me how not to put my garbage back on you. And I could walk through life a lot better. I find things more funny. But I know that I don't make fun of your... And I apologize, garbage is just a metaphor. So don't think of garbage as gossip or issues. Every one of us have something we want to share that's bothering us. And don't bottle it in, but you got to learn how to manage it. And that's what that book taught me. So I really enjoyed that book. My next slide is First Nation band governance. So for the ones that are the government says you're statist. Yeah, so the government says I'm Indian. I'm Indian number 36103555501. That we do have bands. After the signing of treaty, what year was Treaty 4 signed? Someone in the back yell it out for me. 1874. September 15th, it was midday. No, I don't know if it was midday or not. Treaty 4 was signed to. There was an agreement between three different parties, three different people, three different kind of, I don't know how to say it without, three different kind of parties agreed to treaty. There was the Crown representing, it's now Canada. There's the First Nations, and there's the Creator, because they smoked the pipe at treaty. But because of it, bands have governance now on our reserves. I'm a member, a registered member on the Cowes First Nation. And there's a picture of my band office out in my nation. And in that band office, there is to be an elected chief and council, which are headmen. And these are some of the issues that they have to tackle on a daily basis. When you're an elected official, you have to figure out financing. You have to budget things. That's governance. You have to have policies and legislation. Did I say that right? Legislation. These are things you have. These are all governance. It's not, being a leader is not just, it's the government, but governance is everything that attaches to it. Services. You got to provide water. You got to provide septics. You gotta take it out. You gotta bring it to them. That's services. You're always providing services. Next thing, programs. If you have a hockey rink, you gotta provide hockey programs for your youth. You gotta provide something for your elders to keep them going, keep them keep them active. Many different programs. Levels of government. Your fiduciary monies come from federal government, provincial governments, many different levels. You also have the AFN, which is our federal level of Indian politics, the FSIN here in Saskatchewan. You have your tribal councils and your First Nation. And I don't mean to put them on a pedestal. I don't mean that one's above the other. But you have many different levels of government that you have to deal with. You have to work with. Citizenship. Cowes just hit 4,000 band members. My nation, when we signed, there was about 98, 99. You know, as Indigenous people, as First Nations people, we're the fastest growing population in Canada. And you know why? Because we're sexy and we know it. It's my biggest response. Citizenship. You have to provide, you know, on reserve, off reserve. There's a lot of urban people today. We actually have more people living off reserve than on reserve in all of Canada when you do a kind of a censorship. So there's more. There's a reason for that. They're getting pulled off the reserve because of job opportunities, and they're getting pushed off the reserve because there's no jobs. So both ways, they're leaving. Some communities are thriving, but that's where you get into. I don't have it on here. Economic development. That's a really key part. The judicial system. Some reserves have talking circles, sentencing circles. You know, as Indigenous people, in those tribal ways, we had our judicial governance society. They set the rules and the laws, and they made sure that they were followed. If we were to today try bring in some societies, that's one I would like to bring in. I would like to bring in 20 youth, and we would make sure that laws are being followed on every nation. Imagine that, going back to your own nation. And if you're not from a nation, you know, you can do it in the urban settings, because we do have nations in the urban settings today. And you can make sure that everybody's upholding the laws that are being pushed. Imagine that, protecting the laws, and it's like a child. Your laws will grow and grow and grow. We're going to pass on one day. But our laws are going to continuously grow, so our children, our children's children are going to use these laws, and they're just going to get stronger. But who's protecting those laws? We have to start societies today to protect those laws. And I think youth are the perfect people to put on these councils so you can protect the laws. And leadership. You know, you're elected leader. You have to show up to everything on the nation. You have to show up to good and bad. You know, I really feel for chief and councils today on reserves. As tough as they get criticized, as tough as they kind of, the people really are very vocal, sometimes against, sometimes with. You know, imagine trying to balance that on a daily basis, waking up and still trying to make freedom for your people on top of that. So there's a lot that has to be put into being a leader. Let's do it here. There's a couple words that I really like. I'm trying to be a Cree speaker. I didn't really know Cree growing up. Just some of the words my mushum used to tell me, but they're not too PG of words, so I don't want to repeat them. But language is everything. There's 3 L's that are needed for every nation to survive. 3 L's. If we lose one of these L's, then we're going to be really hard to grow as a nation. You need language, laws, and land. If you lose one of those L's, it's really hard to be a nation. That's why language is really key. And before I start talking Cree, I gotta tell you, I'm a recruiter, and I went up to Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation up in Treaty 10 territory, and they're fluent Cree speakers. And by the time when I recruit, I go into classrooms and I do presentations. The grade 12s heard that I can speak Cree, so they said, "Speak Cree to us," they said. So I was like, "Cadmus Netisia Kassen, Kauzes Uchinia, Makwak Regina Niwikin, First Nations University of Canada, Kiskin Kiawatamuekuk," I was going. And I asked them, "What did I just say?" "We don't know what you just said." So even though I act like I'm speaking the language, even Cree speakers don't know what I'm saying. And so when I was in the grade 8 room, I was in the grade 8s, and I apologize, we're kind of all semi-adults here, and I'm not going to swear, but I got to tell you a story, and I'm not going to hide anything in it. So I'm talking to the grade 8s, and we're doing this little science project. And I told 3 of them, because they were being really fast, and the others were just taking their time. I told these 3, Chiskwa, Chiskwa. And in the south, that means just wait. But in the north, it's Cheskwa, not Chiskwa, it's Cheskwa. Well, all their eyes just went really big, and the teacher just shaking her head at me like this. And I was like, "Didn't I just say just wait?" "No, you called us all arses," she said. Chisk means something else in the north, so I was telling them all, you know what I'm saying. So she said, "Just don't speak Cree to my kids anymore." And I was like, "But you're assimilating me. I can't speak Cree." I was kind of kidding with her, but okay. So I got to get serious again with some of my words. These are some words that really, to me, go along with governance. They go along with what we're talking about. And I apologize if I say it wrong, but I'm going to try my best, because that's what life's about. Don't ever be afraid to try something. Just try it. If people laugh at you, laugh with them. Is Mio Wichitawan. Mio Wichitawan. And what that means in Cree is the principles of getting along well with others, good relations, expanding the circle. Expanding the circle. When my mom and dad told me, "Go on, get to Lethbridge," that's what I did. I expanded my circle. They pushed me to a new level. Find someone in life that pushes you like that to do better, and keep them really close to you. Because I remember going with my mom and dad in the car, and I was still telling them, "I don't want to go. I don't want to go." And as hard as it was for my mom to drop me off and go back home from Lethbridge, she knew she was doing right by getting me away from my current settings and putting me somewhere where I could learn. That's what that means. Getting along well with others. The greatest warrior is the one who can carry the peace pipe. You know, you think of warriors. Warrior in the English language means so many different things, but when you study it in the Indian languages, it just means protecting. It means freedom. That's what warrior is. And when you're looking to getting along with others, that's being a warrior. So that word has a lot of meaning to governance. Miskasowin. Oh, okay, thanks. Finding one's sense of origin and belonging, finding oneself, or finding one's center. That's where your righteousness in your heart comes from is that one right there. In order to look after other people, in order to laugh at other people's jokes, in order to make people laugh, in order to get along, in order to feel a part of this group or that group, it starts here. It starts with finding oneself or finding one center. And you know one thing I learned today, and I wish I learned this as a younger person, is take 15 minutes a day, shut off your cell phone, your music, the world, and just sit there for 15 minutes and just let your brain just calm right down. That's how I find myself. You know, just everybody has to do that. We're all human. Your brain can only work so fast. You know, the world is at a fast pace, but take 15 minutes a day and just sit there and turn off everything, sit in a room and just sit there. You'd be amazed after a while at some of the things you're going to start thinking, and then get back in there, get back into the fight, into the challenge of the day. Wetaskiwin, there's a town in Alberta called Wetaskiwin. Living together on the land. That was one of the principles of treaty. Living together on the land. That was the principle. I love that one. Pimachahawin, making a living. Did I say that wrong? My cookup's laughing at me here. Pimachahawin. I'll try it from a different. Pimachuin. Pimatsuin. Pimachuin. That word right there. Right there, I'll point with my lips. Making a living. Every one of us, making a living is not just that check you make at the end of the day. Making a living is going home at the end of the day and looking back and saying, I really did a lot today. I enjoyed myself. I feel good about myself. That's making a living. When you're going to look into going to university, getting into a trade, don't do it for the money because you're not going to be happy in 5, 10, 15 years. Do it, something, follow your dream, be a doctor, an astronaut, set your bar high, but think of something. At the end of the day, you're going to look back, you're going to say, I really enjoyed what I did today. Don't do it just for the money. That's making a living. There's so much. That's what I'm going to go to get I applied. I'm going to try to get my master's in Indigenous governance, and that's my topic, is making a living. Pimachuin. Did I say it right? Kind of. Te Tapwin. I like this one. If you ever friends tell you a really wicked story, just look at them and say, Tapwe, Tapwe. Because what that means is speaking the truth or speaking with precision and accuracy. Every one of us have that ability to do that. It's so easy to make a story sound different, and it's so challenging sometimes to make it sound like just make it the truth. But at the end of the day, your closest friends are the ones that you can do that with. You can tell the truth. So that's some words that I really enjoyed. I'm still practicing how to say them. First Nation law must be a part of the foundations of governance. There are 4 Creator's given laws to abide by. These are laws that Creator has for us. When I was telling you earlier, our societies, our law societies upholding our laws, these are some of the laws that I've learned in university. The first one, human laws. We all have human laws, getting along together, not fighting, not getting violent. There's many different laws. The next one is earth laws, protecting water, that's another one, protecting water, protecting the trees, the roots. The third one is animals, plants, sky being laws, etc. So there's laws to those, as well as there's spiritual laws. Those are laws. Like one law, I want to finish off my story here. One law is the laughing. Every one of us have a good laugh once in a while. Some laugh more. I show my and Gayleen hates when I say this, I show my INAC teeth all the time to people. I call them she's like, it's Health Canada that does the teeth. It's not INAC, she says. But I think INAC just sounds a little funnier. Oh yeah, laughter. Did you know that laughter is a law from the Creator? The First Nations people, the Indigenous, the first peoples here, There's a reason why you see a group of Indians sooner or later bust out laughing, teasing each other, punching each other because it was too funny, slapping your knee, however funny you want to get it. There's a reason why. There is a reason why we have laughter in our system. It has been with us for generations. This is how it was used. 150 years ago, if we were one tribe right now, and I did not work as hard as all of you, you would tease me and ridicule me. If I still refused to work as hard as all of you, you would make me set up my teepee 150 yards away, and you just stand there and point at me and laugh. I'd be over there at night trying to start my fire, just scared, until I promised to work as hard as you, and you'd let me back in. After residential school, two kind of humors emerged. There's that helium humor. That's creator's law humor. That's funny. That's like things that we just laugh together. And then there's weighted humor. That's humor where we pick on each other because of our last names, because of the color of our skin, because my shoes are not as nice as your shoes. That's weighted humor. If we can get rid of weighted humor and just learn that helium humor, we'd get along so much and things would be so funny. We'd get along in schools, sports teams, governance, everybody, don't matter your background, if you're First Nations, non-First Nations, if we can all find that helium humor, we'd go to a whole new level and we'd be unstoppable as the next generation. I want to leave you with that. Thank you very much. It's been an honor to talk to you, and good luck.
I think Cadmus deserves another hand, everybody. Let's give him a hand. Great speech. I certainly enjoyed it. There were a lot of really good words that he said, that he shared with us that kind of resonate, and I think everyone can identify with. One, especially talking about the roots and where we come from, and his diagram with the chart with the tree and all of those pieces, you know, and then how he tied that into family, and then his perception of long time ago and bringing that into the present and using that every day as one of his grounding points, I guess, in terms of how he imagined things were way back when, and then bringing that back to today. Hey, I certainly enjoyed that. He talked about connection, parents, ethics and values, especially personal choices was what I got out of that. Hey, you have that ability to choose where you want to go, and so I thank Cadmus for bringing that. He talked about flexibility, the trees bending, going back and forth, that open-mindedness, having that ability to have open-mindedness and not be biased, even though that's what's around us. He talked about the influences in our lives, and as young people, you got how so much of what you see by this age today, at my age, I wouldn't have seen till almost 35, I guess, in terms of the deaths and what TV and the internet offers you. So he shared a lot of things. Some of it, I'm hoping each of you can take something away from that. He's a very inspirational speaker. As I said, he's one of my inspirations, and we get a chance to chat at the university. Hey, I pop by, and we get a chance to chat, and he tells me about, like, you know, certain times how he starts his days, and, you know, the things that he does, the meditation, the 15 minutes, you know. Those are choices, those are abilities that we can each take. We don't need to have the latest gadgets to do that. We all have what's within us. We all have that to be a leader, so I want to thank you for that. The speakers today will each share things like that with you guys, so that you can go take what you want from that and use that to go in whatever direction you want to go. So we've got some great speakers. Our next speaker that we're going to talk about is going to talk about leadership and activism. Her name is Julianne Beaudin-Herney. She's a 22-year-old university student of Cree, Mi'kmaq, and Métis ancestry. Julianne has been recognized for her accomplishments through the founding of the Student Initiative to change on-campus systemic racism. Her current passions is her exploration in visual arts, where she uses a variety of mediums. She's producing a body of work that is based in ceremony. Julianne strives to bring together Indigenous and Western academic worlds in a way that speaks to her path as an Indigenous woman. She recognizes that it is her environment, her spiritual guides, her friends, and family that lead her in a good way that activates change and growth. Let's welcome Julianne Beaudin-Herney.
Hello, everyone. Hello. How are you all doing today? Good? All right. So, here to talk about activism. I didn't write down anything today because I don't really like speeches and I really sound like I'm reading, so I don't really do that kind of thing. I just wanted to start off by saying that it's not easy. It's not easy getting started. And I remember a few years ago when my fire was lit by something called racism. And it actually happened in a kinesiology class here, and I was in my second year. And remember when everybody was getting those feather extensions in their hair? Yeah, this one girl, this white girl in my class got one, and we had to do breakout groups, and and she said, look, she looked at me and she's like, hey, look, I got a feather in my hair, and now I just feel like an Indian princess. And then I said, really? That's cool, I guess. And and then so I picked up my stuff and I left class because I was really, really mad. I was like shaking, almost like right before I was coming out here. I was kind of nervous. And then I went to Ad Hum building over here, and my cousin Creason Ajikudi was there. And so I just started kind of like getting rallied up, and we were going over, there's a report he just did, and we were looking at the comments section on the CTV website, and of course there's all kinds of positive things on there, right? And so we were just getting started, and I said, you know what? I want to do a petition. I think my friends here, the students here, really need something to encourage them and really bring up the idea of this being a system, and that we live in a system that promotes racism, all the stereotypes. Right now, one of the things that's really big right now are all the stereotypical logos in sports teams. How many of you have heard of that? Just show of hands. Yeah? Yeah? Oh, a few of you. Okay. That's good. So, yeah, we got a petition started here, and with the help of all my friends here, we brought it to Ottawa. We had a letter go out that way, and it was pretty awesome. And what the petition was to get Indigenous studies mandatory here on campus. And it took us a long time. It was pretty much every week I was volunteering 72 hours of my time to put this on, and my grades suffered in school a lot. And so once that went through, it went through this past semester for the arts faculty here. So anybody taking arts will have to take Indigenous Studies 100 to bridge the gap between the Western culture and Indigenous cultures. And honestly, it's tough when people write swastikas on your petitions, and you have some death threats come out, and you kind of question yourself, why am I doing this? I just want to be like everybody else. I just want to be like, I don't care anymore. I want to be apathetic. I don't know how many of you know that word, apathetic. It's kind of like the term ordinary, just being quiet. You're on the sidelines. But people who are born Aboriginal or Indigenous, we can't be on the sidelines anymore. Especially with this Education Act coming out, what we're dealing with right now and today, the termination tables. And I get serious, I get really serious when I talk. That's why I like Cadmus speaking before me, because he actually gets people happy and stuff. And me, I'm just like, treaty, but so with that being said, I'm an artist by trade. And when the initiative went on, I switched my degree to Indigenous Studies. And I quickly realized that wasn't where I needed to be. I didn't want to be really political all my life. I didn't want to be burnt out all my life. And I did get burned out from this initiative. And, even after it, you make friends and you're all like awesome group. Like Idle No More, right? We're like always a really good group of friends, right, at our rallies and everything. And then once things kind of peter off a little bit, you're kind of on your own again. And then you got to keep rebuilding somehow, and then there's kind of like a void. And so I've been working on, actually I found like a really good family, and in my own family, like the elders that I'm around now, they've helped me fill that void that I was feeling. Because as much as we want to try and pretend that our world's okay here in Canada and we're all friendly and polite, there's a lot under the skin that has to do with history. And it's our social responsibility as Indigenous people to reach back into it and help our brothers out, our settler brothers out, in acknowledging it. So personally, I went back to my visual arts because that's kind of what healed me. And coming out of drugs and alcohol, things like that, it's really difficult. That self-sabotage you have, not thinking you can do it anymore. And those suicidal thoughts sometimes, that sickness, when you're around so much negativity, it can really leech onto you. But then when you turn to people like even your teachers, your professors, your mentors, your parents, your elders, your spirit guide, something out there, your creator, the foundation, whatever it is, hip hop, graffiti, writing, singing, rapping, poetry, whatever your foundation is, you can pray to it. And that will heal you, that will help you out and get your message out there. Activism isn't so much about being out in the community, being loud and proud. It's about working on yourself as well. And that's one of the gifts I received doing it. And it's more like a lifestyle, because we have so much to talk about. We have so much pain to open up to people. We have so many stories to tell. I have some biological siblings out there, and I try and talk to them, but it's really hard to talk to them when they're in such a odd place in the world. They don't really know how to communicate with me properly, and so I miss them. I don't know them, but they're out there. And so part of my activism is figuring out how I could fit these things together so I can be healthy and in my relationships with mostly all people, hopefully. And yeah, so activism, and kind of what I'm talking about, you can kind of put it in simple terms in regards to big self, little self. So it's like big S, little s. The big S is how you project yourself to the world, and really feeding off other people, and how your images. And then there's the little self. And the little self is so important, because when I got started, I was so focused on the big self. I got this inflated ego about myself. And then that's when I stepped back and realized, look, I have a little child inside me who's been hurt. That little child's been hurt. What should I do about it? And it took me, I went to my SGI thing for my DUI I got back in 2009. And this woman said, you know what, you've made a lot of positive changes in your life in the last few months. I said, yeah. She's like, so you should acknowledge that inner child in you, because you have so much pain, and that's how you're going to heal that. Instead of just putting that kid away and ignoring it, you got to take it and hold it. And if you don't, even if you're 13, even if you're 15, you still got a little kid in you. You're even closer to it because you're younger. And so embracing that will really bring your heart and your mind, your soul, your emotions, your physical self, your spiritual self together, because you've acknowledged it. And so in regards to art, I've really transformed, and it was hard because I didn't know what content I was going to focus on. And so this is what I came up with. And it's a performance mixed with photography piece. And me and my partner, Mario, we were in my studio and we took some photos. It was really awesome. And that's actually a drawing that I did of what I interpreted as what being a fancy dancer would mean to me once I get started. I'm not one right now, I'm in training. I still gotta get my stuff together. But then I saw a hawk and a butterfly with butterfly wings inside the hawk wings. And they always say when you're praying to acknowledge the different worlds, the different spirit worlds, the animal world, sky world, earth world, kookums, mushrooms, four-legged, two-legged, winged ones, insects, tree spirit, rock spirit, fire spirit, water spirit. And, I wonder if my other one's in here. Yeah, okay, so that's the drawing. And, yeah. And so when I decided to take my spirituality into my own hands and really be honest with myself, I was able to lead myself. In activism, I kind of had like a weird idea about it, that one person leads a whole group and inspires a whole group, when you should just work on yourself and inspire and lead yourself. And that way you're going to meet people along your way that do the same thing, that lead themselves. That way we don't create a codependency. We don't need each other to really feel that. Even though even with Cadmus, he was there when I got started. And I was really angry. I was really aggressive as a woman getting started. Even kind of had a words with him at one point about like student governance and stuff, and I was like, no, don't change that position on there, we need that position. Yeah, anyways, but even between relatives, because Cadmus is my uncle, things can get ugly. But just remember that when you cradle that little self, that's what's really important when you're gonna go out there and grasp onto a cause that's really important to you. And remember your arts, because they'll really set a foundation for yourself. And yeah, I don't know if any of that made sense, but where's Jolene? Hi, Jolene. I posted a Facebook post and she was right on that. She's like, you'll do good, it's all good, girl. I was like, okay. So, yeah, I'll just close with that. I hope I said something that you could each take something away from. Just realize when your fire is lit, acknowledge it, and make sure you really think about the way that you speak about things, especially your family, especially the people you come from. If it wasn't for my mom and my grandma and the elders I know, I would have had a really rough time, and that's the foundation that really kept me going. And yeah, I wish you all the best, safe travels, and have a good day, eat a good lunch, and I'll see you around.
Wow, thank you, Julianne, that was beautiful. It was very, very humbling, very courageous, I think it is what I get from that, and from anyone that's able to share their personal story of choices that they made and, you know, the tough decisions. And I commend her for sharing, because what it shares with everyone here is that we make mistakes, you know, but she took responsibility, like when she talked about the SGI and going back for her license or whatever, you know. You make mistakes, accept responsibility, do what you need to do to move forward, you know, and you'll find you never underestimate where your supports are, hey? The support, then the people that are cheering you on, you may not see them every day, but there's a lot of people you'll come in contact with, and some not on a daily basis, but there's a lot of people rooting for you, hey, that you don't see, and who will definitely come to bat for you in an instance when they see, you know, for those moments that you see them. So I thank Julianne for sharing her message and sharing about finding yourself, and how through activism she found that, and she spoke some very real words. And I have to say real, because a lot of us can on a day-to-day or a moment, you know, kind of tend to push back that truth of that systemic racism that exists out there in every aspect of our life, and academic, you know, and where sometimes we as individuals, we also carry to a degree a certain level of that ourselves, and sometimes we don't, if we're not aware, we teach that as well to our children, hey. I'm very lucky. I've got 3 children. My oldest son is the one who throws it right back in my face, hey? He doesn't have a problem. He throws it right back in my face, and he says, well, you know, you're sounding like a bigot. You know, if I make a comment, you don't realize some of the comments you make. You know, my husband used to always go around when we were driving, oh, a typical woman driver, hey? Like when he'd curse at driving, and that one day, even I said that. I didn't realize that, hey? But even I said that, and my son said, you know what, Mom, you sound like a bigot. He said, if you want to preach to us, is what he said, then you have to set that example, hey? And you know, sometimes when kids say little things like that, it really has that that powerful moment, man, just to snap you right into reality. So I want to thank her for that, talking about the racism that exists out there. We all know it. We know it's there. We know the society we live in, hey? But we all have a choice on how you react to the racism that's out there. You either could stoop to the level that it's given, or you can rise above and do your part, find your way, find your path. Julianne talked about finding the path and where she tried one avenue and then realized, you know what, that's not me, that's not who I am. And then she went on her path. And that's all right, hey? You don't have to follow the path of somebody else. It's up for you to determine your own path in leadership and the way you move forward, either be it activism or governance from what you heard this morning. But both speakers this morning talked about, and that's a really good point, talked about using their identity, their who they are as Indigenous people, their tradition, their cultures, to help them create that balance of who they are, So, and I want to celebrate that because, when I went to school, when I was in high school, that didn't happen. And I could easily identify to the story Cadmus says where you're, the lone brown person in a room full of white. And for years that happens, hey, and many of us will still go through that. You always look for that person that you can identify with, hey? But you know what I also found out is there are a lot of people, regardless of the races, that support and believe in the same things we do. And I think that's when we need to unify. So those are the things that I got from the speeches. I don't know what you got. We have a few minutes here. It's 11:35. And I was hoping, can we go back to the slide that Cadmus shared, his quote? I don't know if we can or whether I'm just throwing this out there. But I wanted to go back to the quote on Cadmus's slide that he had. But before, we're coming near to lunch break. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to say, again, this is the Aboriginal Student Centre. Neekaneewak. I'm like Cadmus too. I don't speak, hey. That's my next goal, is to go back and learn and to be able to speak my language. I'm Cree, I'm Assiniboine, and I'm Soto. So I have a choice of which way I want to go. We are leading, and today's purpose, the workshop and the forum that we have today is to inspire you to explore through the listening to the stories of our speakers on the Aboriginal leadership in education, governance, health, activism, and self-identity, and that this is made possible through the Aboriginal Student Centre, a great team that they have. If we could give a hand to Misty, Nick, I know I'm going to forget names now, this is horrible. Jaylene. Oh, I see their faces, hey? But anyways, can we all just give a hand to these teams for bringing us together and putting this forum together, and for Shawneen for her words and the elder. What I just wanted to do is I wanted to pull you guys in a little bit more and have you read when I count to 3, 1, 2, 3. As I mentioned, this is live streamed, so this is going across via the web. And so I want to give you an opportunity to have your voice heard today as well, so you're hearing things. And I really appreciate that Cadmus gave us this quote, because it really is a good quote. So at the count of 3, if you could share your voice across the country with this quote, starting not with person, but with when. 1, 2, 3. When in the heart, there is beauty in the character. Where there is beauty in the character, there is harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there is order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, there is peace in the world. See, and I think each of you have that ability and that growth to have that there. So I think that's a really good quote for each of us.